still have doodles here from last week. Okay. This is finally fucking moving. The only issue with me now is just look at how corrective this is looking here. Hold on. Oh, hold on. But yeah, let's see. My bad. That was something wrong with the audio. Pretty much, right? In this entire week, we've just seen bearish movement. But today was interesting because we had obviously news today. And we pretty much got a fat whiplash on both sides. All right, from dollar perspective, right? We ran one side, then we ran the other side, which is, I mean, it didn't matter to me just because those aren't my trading hours. It happened at 1 p.m. So it was like, okay, whatever, that happened. And I knew we were trying to see if we were going to finally get a retracement. Obviously, we didn't. And the daily still closed very, very bearish. As for EU, very, very bullish still. And we're just approaching a point where we're getting so close to 1 point, I think it's 1.5. Yeah, pretty much 1.15, that it's like, it's more than likely just going to go there before making any type of pullback. As for pullbacks itself, I mean, all of this pretty much looks, efficient. Nothing looks inefficient. Obviously, there's one area here, but that's a pretty steep retracement, honestly. Like, as a reference point, I would definitely use that previous high, but that's been taken care of. And as you can see, the wicks are covering each other. So the only thing that like pretty much looks interesting to me is this wick here. Which is anywhere in this area, but the issue is that we already gave a reaction and we already gave a pullback. So because we already gave a pullback, in essence, since we took out sell liquidity here, and I'm pretty sure there was a 50% inefficiency here. I forgot what time frame that was though. Let's see. I think it was there. Right there. See, 45-minute, right? Inefficient pricing, and we got exactly 50%, and that gave pretty much a rally for like 130. No, 100. Not 100 pips straight. So that was cool. Like, but the only issue with me was that time of day. This happened at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. for me. So it's like there was no setup today, pretty much. Like the reason why I was like pretty much anticipating this here was because we had a set of equal lows right here. Right? We had equal lows here. We're in the trading session. And pretty much my game plan here, right, which is what I played off of, was right, liquidity is taken here, right? If you only have access to M1, then you can assume the entire wick is a potential SC. So my play was here as soon as we hit New York Open. And the cool thing here was as soon as we saw price coming back up to our point of interest, there was absolutely no volume present, right? Like I showed y'all. And not to mention we have an impulse and pretty much corrective structure, sign number 1. And once you see price coming up, but unsupporting volume, that's instability shown, as you can see. And this range is about a 2 pip, pretty much. Yeah, it was like a 2 pip. And from there, that pretty much played off of there. And once again, you can literally assume this stuff for almost any type of basically what I'm trying to say is with this wick here, how you can assume that elsewhere, but I only do it when the candle takes out liquidity or it actually mitigates something or fills inefficiency. That's the only time I'll ever do that. Like, for example, I won't do something like this. Hold on, that's not getting right. Yeah, so you see, I won't do something like that, even though technically that's valid. That's not something I would play. But for example, another example here is, right, price comes back up here, takes out previous high on M1. You can assume the whole candle, boom, 50% of that to the T, right? So you see how that pretty much makes sense. And once we saw this reaction here, right, this pullback, also an unsupporting volume, right, instability shown. We had a final push into whatever's up here, and then from there we just pretty much technically SC here, and then we closed, but we didn't even close. We came down below the candle of interest, and then we came back 50%. That would have made that valid for me. And then from there, BOS, etc., etc., etc. So this point of interest here, right, that 2-pip zone was with the intention of, one, we're in New York session, we're starting overlap, and it's with the intention of taking out these previous equal lows, right? So that would be pretty much assume 2-pip there, 2-pip stop, and it would have been like 50, 60 pips. Yeah. So 28 to 1. Right, 28 to 1. We came back, we whiplashed down to take out those equal lows, and that target was met. And then we hit the 50% inefficiency, and then skyrocketed to take out that previous point of liquidity from early New York session. And now it's just pretty much a mess. So I'm probably going to sit out tomorrow just because I want to, well, not sit out tomorrow, but I'm going to be a lot more cautious just because it's going to be tricky playing off this news event here. Playing off of this candle, it's going to be very tricky because, for one, it's like a 30-pip candle. There's no real clarity to it. And we're pretty much overextending so much that we might just straight continue. Or if we actually come back and play that during a time of interest, then it'll be, optimal. But there's a chance that this can literally just keep going because we already got the pullback from the news event. Same thing goes for GU. It was the same exact play. Let me go 15-minute. Pretty much the same play. Let me find this. All right, pretty much same play. We're in New York Open, and this is the candle that pretty much took out liquidity. All right, took out that previous high. Now we can use that as a reference point. Price will come back, right, with unsupporting volume once again, right? Notice there is a very impulsive move, no volume, instability shown. Instability is unsustainable, and we get a reaction to downside. And this trade was with the intention of taking out this point of liquidity here, right? And yes, I told you guys this at the beginning of the session this morning. It's like, this is reversal chasing, and it's not really something that's like, that you should be doing. How I always tell you guys, look for the continuation always. But that target's still met for pretty much 20 to 1. So that's 2 USD plays that gave 20 to 1 not during session, but the entry was given during session, and your target was met due to news. Same thing for AU, but AU is sloppy, and I don't really want to talk about that right now. But although this was counter trend, it's very, very rewarding. It's it's worth it. Especially if you're already in from the lows and you're pretty much hedging a position, which is the only reason why I even took the EU one. The GU one was just because the confirmation met and we were literally in the middle of overlap. So I said, you know what? I know we're going to get a reaction. So as long as I can get a break-even trade, then I'm good, right? So looking at price action in GU, it's like once we broke that low, it's like, look, we just got the structure break here, positions at break even, and you just write it down, right? TP1 here met, right? This is about 26 pips, and that would have been, and that was pretty much where you take your partial, whether it's 30, 20, 40, 50%, and from there you just let it ride, and then target was met, gave a reaction, and now we're actually playing inside of that previous wick and broke it. So this is sloppy, but I actually like seeing this instead of seeing that wick not be played out like this one here, like EU. Since that wick is still there, it's very, very hard and tricky to play this wick. So I think it's best to wait, see what happens to London, and then from there we go and check out exactly what's gonna happen going on. But for now, honestly, I don't even want to say this is gonna give a pullback, because it just, every sign is pretty much telling me that this is gonna continue lower, which is good because I want that EU target to hit as soon as possible, because that's probably my main target from the swing from 1.06. And then once that happens, then I can release a video for you guys. But it's just like, right, all consistent lower highs. So it's pretty much a matter of whether this wick is gonna break or hold. But I'm pretty sure it's pretty much gonna break. So it just depends on the reaction that we get after the break, whether it's just gonna come back or it's gonna stay and then pull back, and then we catch an entry New York and then keeps going lower. So I'm pretty positive this is gonna take out the previous wick, but it's just a matter of what reaction it gives off, whether it's just a quick liquidity grab or if it's an actual break. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I mean, this is looking like it just wants to keep going. Like, it wants to keep going. It's like every single pullback it's had hasn't broken any type of structure whatsoever. Right? Maybe tested it, but definitely didn't break it. So it's like you have no reason to assume otherwise. But yeah, I mean, this one's sloppy. Same thing. This is the opposite of DXY. It's gonna be interesting because this from here, it's like if we get a push London, right, you can potentially even play an SC here and take it higher, but it's too early to assume that. We have to break the high first just to assume that structure is going to continue. Whereas if it doesn't break structure and it comes back here, then we might get a reaction, but then it pull back down. So it's just, I want to see how this plays out, London, and from there just go based off that. But yeah, I mean, do you guys have any questions? What's up? What's been going on? What are y'all trading? I know some people traded UCAD this morning. Yeah, sloppy too. Are you talking about for the entry? You're talking about the entry here? Let's see. So it was... Nothing. Nothing still. I'm actually gonna come back here. Nothing still. Yeah, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna give it. Just the one thing I hate about seconds time frames is that it doesn't let you customize them. You're literally stuck to 1 second, 5 second, 15 second, 30 second. I hate that because even if you try to add one, it doesn't allow seconds, and that kind of pisses me off. But this is where rules come into play. Like, we know because previous point of liquidity was taken here, we know that that's a point of interest. But the cool thing now is, like, since we know that and we're refining it in seconds time frame, it's like, look, 30 second, same, pretty much the same POI, 15 second, same POI pretty much, unless you want to assume that that wick there is the SC, but the 5 second here is probably where I would have seen that. And as you can see, that pretty much makes your zone very, very precise. Whereas if you didn't, it would probably be just what, a pip bigger. Yeah, you see that's like an 8 pip zone. I mean a 0.8 pip zone. So it's like, that sucks that we can't customize them, but you understand rules, you understand all that stuff, so that's how you determine that. Where is the... Hold on. It's not letting me open the chat. Okay, it's right here. Yeah, that was the entry there. GU, I don't, maybe it might be better. Hold on. So original POI here. Bit smaller. Bit smaller there. Yeah, it's probably not going to show it. That's so irritating, just because I know that if we were able to customize it, then we would see so much more, pretty much a much better representation. Yeah, no, you won't be able to see it here, unless if you want to go off this time frame. Two POIs marked out. All right, the reason why I'm marking them out is just because since it's a 1 second, it pretty much each big bullish candle is telling me volume came in, or volume came into for bullish movement or bearish movement. But these two would probably be the two POIs I mark out from there. But I don't know if those would have touched. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, would have hit POI number 1, that 1 second candle there. But that's so much more unrealistic, which is why I don't look at the 1 second in real time. I look at the 5 second, but not the 1 second. It's a lot harder to pinpoint that. But I mean, either way, you could see the POI marked. And I think this went for, well, first part was 30 pips, and then from there I think it was 60. So I mean, imagine if you can get even a 2 to 3 pip stop here. That's already a 20 to 1, and a 20. No, it's probably like a 35 to 1, with a 2-3 pip stop. And from there, you can be done for the week. There, you're pretty much done for the week. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty sloppy today. Honestly, I didn't really like how today played out, mainly because the news pretty much messed everything up. But I think tomorrow we'll see something good as long as London isn't shitty. Okay, that was 45 minute. But yeah, I mean, it's too early to assume any type of trend shift yet. Too early. I bet you there's so much divergence here. I bet you there's so much divergence. Let me see. Let me open that up. So I bet you everybody in Moms is selling this. Yep. There's so much divergence there. I promise you everybody's trying to sell this. It's just based off narrative, based off logic. It doesn't make sense to want to sell this. At least not until your 1.15 is hit. So yeah, I would love to see this rocket tomorrow. My target here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much today's rant was it's pretty small. It's just like we're finally at a point where structure finally shifted in the direction that we've been wanting for the past 2-3 months. So now it's just, honestly, it's just a matter of catching intraday plays. Like there's really, there's really nothing more I can tell you here. It's a matter of you just trading your session and catching your intraday plays, or maybe even a nice little day trade. As far as swinging, I would probably wait, just because we're so high in terms of overall structure, right? We're in heavy premium right now. So it's like, I would like to see relief after we hit our target here. And by relief, I wouldn't even expect it to be a deep retracement. Like, let's say this just rockets from here, right? I would probably look for somewhere in that wick to try and play this to go higher. I don't expect us to give any steep retracement. I think we've seen the end of 111, 110, 112 maybe. But 111, 110, I think we've seen the last of that for the rest of the year. Especially with how the quarter's going to close this. But yeah, it's like, look at how bullish this entire quarter is going to be. And the cool thing about it is, think about it from a pretty much a Wyckoff perspective. It's like, this is pretty much your accumulation, and this is essentially, yo, that's fucking loud. We could have said this was a reaccumulation because the accumulation is the bottoming out, and this is just a reaction given. But who's to say we don't reaccumulate twice? Because in reality, this entire range could be accumulating for the next couple years, which is what's cool about it. Because if you acknowledge that and you pretty much develop a bias based off of that, you just catch a bunch of buys for the next couple months at least. Obviously sells for corrections every once in a while, but the cool thing is if you get that bias in and it's correct, then you're just buying and banking. So it's pretty cool. So I want to see if this is going to reaccumulate again. I doubt it's going to distribute here. It wouldn't make sense on any time frame or any swing time frame per se. But yeah, no. It just, depending on how this monthly closes, I really hope it closes bullish. But I mean, we have every sign right now for continuation. So I really just want to see how that plays out. But yeah, I do have one little topic for today. Let's see, what time is it? 9:38. Yeah, I do have one little topic today, but I need somebody to talk while I'm doing this because I'm going to be asking questions. And I don't know if we've talked about this actually. I really don't know. What is our trading based off of? Right, I say this all the time. What is it based off of? Anybody?
Logic.
Why?
because
Can
you
you
have to
answer me that?
understand like where price is gonna go. Like it's different from like you putting a limit and just letting it happen. You need to put in like a whole bunch of different factors like momentum, bias, like because if it goes to your POI with like really really fast momentum, then like you don't want to take that trade just because like you know
Hmm.
the logic is making sense.
But here's something I haven't told you guys, and it's pretty much, um, I'm basically, you can say I'm kind of preparing each one of you, but I'm gonna repeat again like why I base everything off logic. Um, Understanding logic in terms of your trading style allows you to read the narrative that the obviously the chart is trying to give you, and once you understand the narrative that you're given, then you're building a bias based off of that, and your execution is based on that bias, right? But it all falls down to your foundation, which is logic. And the reason why logic is so important, or just yeah, just so important, significant, it's everything, because once you truly understand what the logic means, you can expand it to pretty much anything, because now logic is seen as pretty much as principle. And you can literally do the same things with any type of asset class, whether it's um, commodities, cryptos, uh, whatever, bonds, whatever, right? Even fucking sneakers, right? Because look, let me tell you about this little cool little flip I did, and it was pretty much a test to see if what I use actually fucking works. And I'm gonna show you guys this, and just take me seriously here. Like I'm getting to a point here. Take me seriously here. Just trust me here. Trust me here. Right. So this is just like a small investment that I made. I one pair. I just wanted to see how I could play this off. And I don't know why this is not letting me. Well, it's not looking that pretty. Hold on. Let me do it on my phone. It looks better on my phone. Hold on. Let me send it to myself. Save messages. All right. Cool. All right. Cool. So March 15th, I bought this pair of shoes for $285. Right, and let me get to why. So the chart isn't as neat as it used to be, but there was actually a small accumulation there. And yes, it's sneakers, but logic applies everywhere. And let me tell you why. So the narrative I have seen, I pretty much, or the logic that I'm using for this is time, value, and potential return. So I bought this shoe because it's heavily underpriced. Yeezys usually go for 300, 350 bucks, especially the good colorways, and this is a very wearable colorway. So it's a very colorful colorway. It pretty much is a European exclusive, but I have it here in the United States. And three, I have an accumulation to play off of. So I bought the shoe with the expectation of seeing a return to at least previous high. And that actually smashed a couple days ago. Even though it took me it took 2.5 months, but I built a narrative based on the facts of the shoe, which was it's a European exclusive, it's a very colorful, it's a very wearable sneaker, and it's undervalued. It's a heavy discount. It's at the lowest point it's ever been. Right, this shoe started off at 370 bucks, and it came all the way down. Right, we see corrective structure coming down, and I built the narrative from undervalued shoe that's heavily exclusive in the United States, that's extremely wearable, has a ton of potential to grow. So I play that. I made a bias and I executed based on the bias. And look at that. That's like a 40% return, I think. No. Hold on. $390. That was a 70% return. Now, obviously, it's just one pair because I wanted to test it out. But now, imagine if I could do this with 20, 30 pairs. I'm preparing myself for the future. So once each and every one of you can understand how the logic works, then boom, you can do this with a house. You can do this with apartment complexes. You can do this with fucking baseball cards. You can do this with, you pretty much are teaching yourself. You're learning how to quote unquote flip, because that's all trading really is. If you really think about it, you're flipping money with money, right? And you're pretty much playing based off probability, but you know that we do it through logic that builds a narrative, that builds a bias that we execute based off of, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
And that's exactly why you should be trading, well, not trading, but like learning the logic, learning the foundation, learning everything there is to know about the style itself before actually trying to apply it. Because if you can fully understand it, you can apply it to anything you fucking want in life. Right? You can. I can't think of any. I had some examples off the top of my head earlier, but after I did this homework, I'm pretty much brain dead. But it's a pretty cool thought, because if you really, really, really think about it, there is no limit to whatever you can do. Right? Because if you can apply the same principles to trading into life, into anything else, then you have found freedom. Because you now understand how money moves, how assets move, how et cetera, et cetera. You get what I'm saying? Right? And the same thing, like I said, can be applied to baseball cards, computers. It's all about understanding the value, finding a projection, and having a narrative to play based off of. And just so you know, like, our risk is always very, very minimal. So it's like, you know, it's always worth the risk, because we understand that RR, it's all about RR. And like with the sneaker too, it's like that's a 70% ROI in less than 2 months off something that took me probably 20 minutes to do. Because I literally bought that shoe, like I pretty much impulse bought that shoe because of how low it was, and I was like, oh, this kind of looks like accumulation. I even posted on Instagram for the people that remember. I posted the actual, like, the screenshot of me buying it and then the update. So like now I can sell the sneakers are just sitting there, but I can sell them for $400. So yeah, that's pretty much my little rant for today. Just think about that. I can't see that emoji on my fucking PC, bro. I don't know what that is. Yeah, you see, Sergio calls me a hypebeast because he don't got drip. So it's okay though. I'm teaching him how to dress, so it's okay. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for tonight. I think we're good. I'll probably upload this as soon as we finish.